Guess what, folks? This is the only Tuesday, July 26, 2022 that you will ever get. So guess what? Make it a great day. Doesn't matter. Right now, hey, it's raining cats, dogs, elephants, and donkeys outside. But it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. And hey, anybody who's watching right now, whether you're watching the playback, whether you're watching it live, I encourage you to share the link at least one time to a group or something somewhere. Share it at least one time. Okay. We appreciate that. We love y'all. And hey, I got my brothers with me, brothers from other mothers. Y'all ready to rock?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go, y'all. It is the Truth Be Told Show.
All right, cue the music.
Cueing music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told Show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told Show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Mishorn.
All right, folks. It is the Truth Be Told Show. Got my brothers here, fellas. How you doing there, Marcus? How was your week?
Pretty good. Just glad to be back. You know how it is after being gone for a week. It takes a week to get caught up from being gone. So I'm just about there.
Hey, I know how it goes, man. I hate it, and I try to check my emails when I'm going out of town myself. Even on vacation, I try to stay in tune so that when I get back in town, I don't have too much.
I understand completely.
Peter, Better Days with Peter Hayes. How's it going, brother?
Oh, beautiful on this kind of cloudy, stormy Tuesday.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, you listening, watching around the world, then it's a very cloudy day here in Kentucky and in Louisville, Kentucky. And actually, it's funny. I'm on a chat thread with my brothers and father that are all down in South Florida. And the first text was, boy, this rain is really coming down. I'm drenched. And so they're getting it too at the same time as us. Uncle Me, what's going on, brother?
It's all good, man. If you hear the noise behind me, it's because I'm in my garage, got the door open and everything, and looking at the rain just falling down, man. It's all, I mean, this is the weather just, I thought I was going to cut my grass today. I guess I just...
Man, that just means you ain't look at the weather at all yesterday. Because they told us 70% chance. Yeah, man, that's like one of them old school excuses. Yeah, maybe I'll be back. I'm going to cut the grass.
Yeah,
don't come back ever.
I played myself because I was supposed to, and I let a lot of other things. But listen up, man. Welcome back, Marcus. I mean, you took a hiatus, all right, and I know you went out and hung out with the NAACP and everything, and done your thing there. I thought you just jet and just left and everything, and didn't need no foreign card and everything. We just you done with us and everything. Then I realized the NAACP is your baby, and you had to go and make it happen. Welcome back, man.
I'm glad to be back. We have a convention once a year that gives an opportunity to find out what the new or continued focus is for the organization over the next year. So I'll hopefully share some of that later on if time permits.
Hey, Joe, I know we got a couple things got to talk about, but did I sent it out? Did you see that? What does it say? The three comedians, Kevin Hart, your boy. Chris Rock, and then your boy also what's his name? God damn it, can't get his name out right. They all showed up, and they said it was an accident that he showed up at the Chris Rock showing up. I don't think it was an accident. I think these brothers are starting to come into their own and starting to realize that they calling themselves the GOATs. They coming out saying some powerful things. Did you hear about it, Joe? Did you
No,
hear?
what was it? It was, you said it was Chris Rock and they were doing
Chris
what?
Rock and what's the God,
Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart. Chris Rock was going. His show got canceled, and then
Was it
all
David Chappelle?
and David Chappelle, yeah, and David Chappelle. David Chappelle showed up as a like a surprise to open up for Chris Rock and Kevin Hart, and they said that show was off the rock, man. It was off the hook and everything. And so I think it's some new things that's occurring. The slap, I've been saying this before. I don't believe the slap and the way that it was handled. I believe it sent a new message around the world that demographically, our men ain't what it used to be back in the days. One, Will Smith did go up there and slap, but the response that Chris Rock gave back to it was just as eloquent and not usually our thing normally. You know, y'all follow what I'm saying with this. It's not, you know, sometimes we can act a butthole on live airway and everything, and we didn't do any of that. And we handled it eloquently, and the repercussion from that has actually been a beautiful thing. What you say to that, Joe?
Hey man, I'm not mad at it. I think what it's doing is pushing guys like this to show solidarity and to show that, hey, you know, you're not gonna push us around, and I'm not mad at that. You know,
Yeah.
Because these guys, to me, from what we've seen of them and stuff like that, you know, these guys seem like men. You know what I mean? Real men. So you know, it's cool.
They straight heterosexual men. Okay, they ain't no funny business in there. At least we ain't heard none. Ain't no funny business in their conversation. They want to keep it straight. You know, Dave, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, all three of them. They have not been known for anything else but trying to keep it straight.
Exactly. So I ain't mad at it at all. And you know what? I let's see. I thought I had well, I'll bring it back up. But I got something for our brother here. But either way, today's topic, man, NAACP still relevant. Now, I know we were talking about something before the show started. What was that you brought up, Marcus?
Well, I asked if everyone had the same understanding of what the okey doke meant, and I felt like that we're about to get the okey doke with Juneteenth. You know, we took the Civil Rights Act of '64, or the Voting Rights Act of 1964, and the Civil Rights Act of 1965, and I think they gave us the okey doke. You know, we thought we were moving along, and we were progressing, but at the same time, the European American was figuring out how they were going to keep those white only signs going. And I couldn't help but when I woke up this morning to feel that we got the okey doke again with them voting Juneteenth as a holiday. We got nothing but a feel good.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
But,
so I woke up with that this morning.
Trump said it before. He said black people just need to be entertained. You know, I mean, isn't that all we need in this world? That's why we're the best at entertainment, because all we need is to be entertained. That's it, right?
So Marcus, I want to go down that rabbit hole and everything because, brother, the dominant European culture has been giving us the okey doke ever since July the 4th. Okay, 3/5 of human when our the slaves fought the war, beat the Britons, sent them home, and the slaves that came with America and everything, they thought they were gonna get something.
Yeah,
they
that's
thought
true.
Get something, right? And here they had lost their life and fought that battle and everything. And July the 4th came along, and the first session in Congress and everything said, "What, Peter? What they do to him, Peter? They made him what? They made him 3/5."
Well, I think, but in just so that's in the proper context, the British didn't win, right?
Yeah.
The British promised that, and they didn't win, so therefore,
Yes.
that's not quite the okey doke that we're talking about. At least not the one I'm talking about, right? When you make reference to that.
Well,
The British did not win.
I was already. I knew the British didn't win, but our slaves, the ones who went with us, thought that they were going to go to something different. That's my point.
You're talking about the ones that fought for the British.
No, the ones who fought for us.
Okay. I don't recall that being part of the conversation with him from what I read.
That's the longest silence I've ever seen Marcus have.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. I was looking back through my readings, and I don't see that anywhere. But that's true. If in that context, we got the okie doke. But in modern times, because see, sometimes we always fall back to so far back in history that it's not significant to what we're currently talking about, which is we spent a lot of political capital, a whole lot, getting a holiday and nothing else. And so as I woke up with that, I thought the power, the political power that we spent, or the political capital for a holiday that brought nothing else with it. And that's what made me think about, here we are getting ready to fall for the okie doke, because in that brief moment we achieved something that meant nothing.
And again, you are absolutely on point. That's exactly what happened with the emancipation. You know, I mean, I'm going to jump from the July the 4th all the way to the emancipation. We got the emancipation. We got we got the allowed to be free. Okay. But we got no legislation lining out what that looked like. What, isn't that right, Peter? We got not one legislation outlining what that is, and that's why we still in the mess that we in today. There was no teeth in what that emancipation was, so we fell for that okie doke. Okay, and now we don't fought for June 19th, okay, and they done gave us that. Okay, and it took us a little while. We got the holiday. But what's the legislation in the paper outlining what that thing looked like? Peter, you can talk to that.
Well, I mean, it's basically just a national holiday. Yeah, it's not very significant. Another day off for mostly government workers. I don't think the private sector is going to have day off. You know,
they might start.
Well, I think it'll eventually come to that. I just when I think about the amount of capital that we spent making that happen, we did nothing. Basically, we wasted that capital. And I appreciate the holiday and the sentiment behind it, but there was nothing that came with that. If we were going to spend that political capital, we should have been talking about reforming or getting rid of
a plethora of other things that we could have been talking about than a mother freaking holiday.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so,
isn't the saying a day on, not a day off?
Yeah.
I do digress. I did not mean to take us down a rabbit hole this morning, but I just woke up with that on my mind.
There's nothing wrong with rabbit holes. I'm cool with rabbit holes. As long as people are interested in talking about it. Hey, we did a show Saturday, and our topic was who was it? Are most men mostly attracted to men, just sexually attracted to women? That's because of a meme that was being passed around on social media, and women were rah-rahing about it. But guess what? When it came time to get them to talk about it, nobody wanted to talk. We couldn't get them on to talk about it. So as long as we are willing to talk about it, we can jump down any rabbit hole whatsoever. Now, current events, is anything going on locally? Y'all ain't seeing nobody trying to rally around Herbert Lee, are you?
No.
Okay, good.
Our first segment, Joe, we did talk about overall is Joe Biden fit to be president, because there's a lot of controversy, and he's at an all-time lowest poll rating of any president.
They sent a monkey into space at one point. So, yeah, I could say that he is fit for president as well as the monkey is.
Well,
what y'all think?
I don't think he certainly couldn't do any worse than the last one we had.
Oh, Lord. I knew you was going to.
Yeah, but, I mean, listen. I think that most people, the issues with Trump was all about his business acumen. All right, he was not great in the public eye. He should have had a muzzle on many a times. He said some of the worst of the worst. But at the same time, he said so much of the worst that it was easy to do sound bites and make it seem like he says other stuff that he didn't. But nonetheless, when you start talking numbers, dollars, and cents, come on, man. Uncle B, talk about it.
About Joe. Talk about President Biden first before you get into the numbers.
I don't talk about
because
that's fine. That's fine.
Well,
somebody brought it up. I don't know who it was. I might look at him and just whistle.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that when we talk about whether somebody's fit or not, then if you're going to do it independently of what other people have done, right? You can drive poll numbers down and a person be doing an effective job. We talk about the media all the time about what's this or what's that, but the inflation and all those things come into play, right? Which, as we all know, you inherit from the previous administration based on some things. Wait a minute now, because when the previous administration was doing well, no one wanted to admit that those things were inherited from the previous administration. And so you can talk in circles all you like, but some of those things have been inherited and some of those are self-induced.
So you know what, Marcus, I'm gonna go and claim you as Peter is the official spokesperson,
representative.
Okay, I'll go ahead and claim you. You are the official spokesperson for Democratic blackness. Okay.
Well, first off, you don't get to put any title on me that I don't accept, and so therefore you don't get to do that. However, what you can do is say that I'm not willing to fall for anything anybody gives me, and I question everything, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or anybody else.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just saying,
but then don't think you can put a label on me because you don't like what I say.
I don't know. I'm just putting a label on you. I'm just putting.
Well, you don't get to put a label on me unless I accept it, and I'm telling you that's not going to happen.
I can put the label. You don't have to accept it, but I can put the label. But
no, you will not.
Go ahead and justify why you say Biden is in good health. Okay, I want to hear this. I got to hear this conversation.
Well, we didn't discuss that. But when we say, is he fit for office? Yeah. What are the major issues?
No, you're talking about his health.
I'm talking about, is he fit for office?
Well, but you're talking about whether his health makes him fit for office.
Well, I would say a couple of things: his policies and then his mental health. I think most Americans just think he's too damn old, and he's obviously got early dementia / Alzheimer's, and it's
but this is the thing. If y'all had just listened to me before the fact, America, if you listen to me before the fact, I'm a specialist on Alzheimer's as a life insurance agent. I see it coming. I promise you. No, I'm telling the truth. At first, I used to get caught by the okie doke with lots of clients, because one thing I noticed is that Alzheimer's patients always want a big giant policy. You want way more than they can handle, afford, or even have access to when it comes to their account. And that's one of the signs. And then as I'm talking to them, I can give me a 30-second conversation with them. I can tell you that this person has Alzheimer's dementia, and a lot of times I may just call them at night just to make sure. And that sundown done kicked in, and sure enough, who are you? Yeah, so I'm telling you, Biden's the same way. I called him 5 years ago, and he knew exactly who I was. I called him recently. He said, "Who are you?" So he's definitely got it.
Well, I think the stresses of the job probably exceed. We talk about somebody being too old, and then people get riled up about, well, I'm not too old for this or that, but there does come a time, and so what we're talking about is what's too old and whether or not we put an age range on when you can be the president of the United States. But if you do that, you need to do it for Congress and a whole lot of other places in government, because those people that die in office over in the Senate and in the House of Representatives have gone on long past what would be considered a reasonable time. Especially when you talk about age and whether they're still sharp enough to do the intricate details of the job. So I don't disagree with any of that.
I wouldn't let them drive a big Cadillac or a big Buick. You know, so he definitely don't need to be, you know, running a country, let alone driving a car.
Well, but I think too is like any other organization, at least every organization I've ever led, is that I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just have to be smart enough to have smart people in the room. And so while that might not always be the case when you get over there, but hopefully he's got some smart people in the room that are giving him some sound advice, and then he's smart enough to follow it.
Well, he
look
picked
at Afghanistan. Every single general told him not to do what he did, and he didn't listen to it. So he listened to the political people who wanted to do it on 9/11, get this great victory, and you know, you could ask any.
What victory are you talking about?
He wanted to have the troops from Afghanistan withdraw on 9/11 day, September 11th, and so they fast-tracked the whole evacuation when nobody in the military said that was a good thing. You don't take out your troops first, and you leave your people and your ammunition there.
Now, come on, Peter. Now you only tell when you only tell half the story with that. That's true, but that also meant going against the agreement that President Trump made with the Taliban. And he was following those orders. So I don't disagree with that. That's a bad move, but he was faced with one or two things. And so you only tell half the story of that. So the generals might have said that, but he was faced with a political decision that President Trump made.
So,
okay, well, look, let's tell the other half of that story as soon as we come back from commercial. Folks, it is the Truth Be Told show. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable products, as the purple t-shirt, is bearing witness every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
I don't need to sit at your table. We building one. We in the process of building a table. We building a table. I don't gotta sit at your table. I'm building my own table, and I will build you a table in the presence of your enemies.
BB Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. A BB Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
Folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
All right, cue the music.
Cueing music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Nishorn.
All right, folks, we're back here on the Truth Be Told show, and got a little bit of conversation going on concerning, Trump and hold on one second. Let me. I Yeah, I think we're good there. I'm not gonna say what I think that was, but with that in mind, we're finishing up this conversation. What's the other half of that? The other side of the story. Me, Sean. I mean, no, not me, Sean. It was Marcus. You were giving that.
So excuse me. In negotiating directly with the Taliban, in order for them not to attack our troops, as we were talking about and discussing this withdrawal, then there were things that President Trump said he would do. And one of those is a hard time to be out of Afghanistan. And so as we approached that time, then President Biden was stuck with that date. And whether he pushed that past that date and we go through being attacked again was the question that was being raised. And so during all that time that they knew that this withdrawal was coming, there was no real preparation for withdrawal. And so what we did is we went through several months while President Trump was the president. We could have been doing a steady step down withdrawal of equipment and some things like that. And then when President Biden took office, he was forced with that deadline, even though in that window. Now, I was there in 2013 and 14, and we were cutting up brand new MRAPs because it would have been much more costly to bring those vehicles out because we no longer had railheads to transport those things out, and we had to fly them out. So we cut them up and basically sold that metal for 8 cents on the pound to local Afghans. And so it's not an easy thing to move that kind of equipment like that. Now, I don't agree with leaving it for them. We should have continued to cut it up, but that withdrawal was based on something that President Biden didn't put in place. And so to put that solely on his back is not proper.
Well, we don't have to go that deep to determine whether or not he was fit. All you got to do is look at who he selected as his vice president, and you can look very deep. That only reason he selected her is that he thought getting black women on his camp. You know, he thought he was doing what you just said. The very thing you just said. Okie doke. Thought.
So you're saying that Vice President Harris was not qualified to hold that position.
Nope, you damn right. I said it.
So let me ask you this, just so that I understand it. Who is ever qualified to hold that position that hasn't held it before? In any name of any person who's qualified to hold that position who has not held it before.
Who hasn't held it before?
Right.
Who is qualified that hasn't held it?
Correct. So what I hear him saying is that if you haven't done that job, there's no way to be qualified for it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that because what's your girl with the glasses with that saw Russia? I mean from Alaska. What's her name?
Palin.
Was it Palin?
Sarah Palin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she was an interesting.
Another person wasn't qualified. She shouldn't. She was ignorant as going to be.
But again, what I'm asking you though is you say that as a general statement without any specifics. So what is it that makes her not qualified to hold that job, according to you, only because she's a black woman?
No, he didn't say that. Come on,
well,
Marcus.
No, what he said was
his mouth with words.
I'm stuffing words in his mouth because he says them without thinking sometimes. What he said is that the only reason she was selected was because she was a black woman. That's what he said.
She was selected. If you could get a black cow to run, then the black cow would have been selected if it meant getting more black votes. She was selected in order to get more black votes, and it happened. And they know that there are if we look up the numbers, are there more black women registered voters than there are black men? Or if the whole agenda is to emasculate men because men are a threat to things happening that don't make sense in this world, then you bring on the woman, you uplift them in front and further than the man.
Right.
And in the Black community, they've been doing that for many years. It's the same playbook. So boom, they did it once again. But here, let me get to some of these comments real quick. And you guys, please look at your private chat there and answer my question there. I appreciate it. But here, it's Ali Majub. He says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Brother Marcus is right when he said we got the okie dokie, but nothing else. It's just an approval of an organization / holiday, but nothing else." Joseph Reeves, he says, "Why are old men better suited than young King Tut's?" That's true, because old white men pretty much hate the same thing, gays and blacks. So that's interesting there. I'm just saying, let's talk about it. Everything discussed about the United States of America, Inc., gotta add that Inc. in there, is a conversation about an ongoing investigation of an ongoing crime against humanity. Why is a president even needed? It is a crime. Is it a crime to be free? Well, I mean, I think we need to have some type of organization, because I mean, as soon as you say that, or as soon as I say it, then I just get this picture of just people running around rampant, stupid. But Ali Majub says, shouldn't be the leaders of NAACP be responsible for the success and failure of the political organization? And then he also says the black lady who was selected because she worked hard for it and she's been approved for the position. It's not because of color. Ali, I love you, brother, but I'm definitely going to disagree with you on that. It was definitely because of color. Because I mean, given her background, I mean, well, Joe, she did work hard for it. She dated LL Cool J. She dated all the top rappers, and they did the nasty, and they bent her over all type of stuff. I mean, I'm just saying, LL Cool J, he was a bad boy, so he was just getting it. But I'm just saying, she did it, and so that made her qualified, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been well documented that Joe Biden, going into the South Carolina primary, he was in 5th place, bankrupt. He was out of the race basically, and he made a deal with the congressman who's the 3rd most powerful. What's his name? Marcus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this came out publicly that he committed at that time that he would not, and it was interesting because he met with all these men, African DAS political leaders, and they said they forced him make a commitment to nominate a female vice president and a Supreme Court justice, and he committed to doing that, and he won South Carolina, and the rest is history. But he was, and it was reported he was out of the race because he was bankrupt. He was in 5th place in the polling, and so he made that deal, and he stuck with it. He could have said, "Nah, that's not good," because who was he going to choose? The choice was really between Stacey Abrams and
Stacey Adams. Stacey Adams would have been. I'll just keep it all the way on. I wouldn't be even saying this, that it was about a black woman, if it was Stacey, because Stacey, she was credible. She could have been a good vice president, but ask yourself why he didn't pick her, Marcus. Why he didn't pick Stacey?
Well, first tell me what makes her credible, and then I'll tell you why.
Okay. She authentically held a political office. I mean, she did something to show that she was credible enough to have done, to being able to lead in that.
No, be sure she was never. She still hasn't been elected to any political office. She
was a state representative.
She was a state representative. She was,
but so was Vice President Harris.
You got to be a senator, congressman, or governor to run for president.
But
that's not true.
Well,
Donald Trump was none of those.
I mean, who's been nominated as a vice president no state representative, and Harris was a U.S. senator, so she made that qualification.
Because I would like to believe that as an American citizen, that should be a qualification of some sort. I don't want nobody walking down the street and looking at that homeless dude on the side and being like, you know what? He just said something so profound. Let's make him vice president. You know what I mean? Like,
so
you
that
should
same
come from
requirement
something.
doesn't. But so as long as you come from something, right?
From something political, yes. That's what I want as an American citizen.
But that's not what happened with our last president. He didn't come from anything political, so that's not true. That we hold these things out there as being qualified.
But that's what I'm saying. That would have been a problem in voting him in. I believe that a person should come from something political. And now President Trump can run again because he did come from something political.
I look, more power to him. I hope he does run.
Well, the point with Biden is he had, he made a commitment and he stuck to it. And he was kind of in a bind, but Kamala Harris is less polling than Biden, which is pretty amazing to be lower.
Well, and I think too that if you look at one of the things that President Biden said back, I think Orrin Hatch said the same thing when Barack Obama first ran for president, is that he was light enough, well spoken enough that he could probably get past the hesitation of European Americans to vote. And so I believe that's what Ms. Shorn is making reference to when he asked why he picked a light-skinned person over a darker person.
Yeah.
And that
here's something interesting, and I encourage everyone to go listen to Judge Joe, what's his name? Judge Joe. Yeah.
Brown.
Joe Mathis.
Joe Brown. No, Judge Joe Brown. He knew Kamala really well, and he's got some. She was known as sleeping her way to the top. She was really.
He had some. Hey, Marcus, have you not listened to what Joe Brown? Have you listened to the whole clip on Joe Brown talking about Kamala Harris?
I haven't.
No.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of podcasts,
and so what we're saying is that a person's past should determine their future.
So listen.
Someone who proves their way through the top political, that's she's pretty well known to have done that.
So that makes it, and I'm just trying to figure this out. That makes it her fault that those men were doing whatever they did to get her to the top. I'm just trying to understand what we're saying here. It's okay for a man to sleep around and do their thing, but it's not okay for a woman. I just want to make sure that's what we're saying.
I think it's wrong for both of them, but I mean, that's what Judge Joe Brown brought that up pretty well. But
listen. We need to show the reality is that this is just showing how far you can go in America. All right, you could be on your knees 1 minute and then be standing in the Oval Office the next. So let's understand something that America the Great. That's the real truth behind what we're talking about.
Only in America. So let's get back to what we basically we're trying to say, and I just brought up Kamala Harris. You don't have to get so deep into Joe Biden political attributes of what he did, didn't you? You just had to look at who he selected, and you can also, in my opinion, you can also see whether or not he was qualified to be president. So the question is, Marcus, as we go into talking about NAACP, what's the relevance, NAACP moving in the 21st century?
Well, and I say this because I hear it all the time. Every time I hear that there's been another color barrier broken, that expression just reaffirms one. Say again.
Go ahead.
Oh, that reaffirms the social construct of race. Mm-hmm. And so when people talk about racism and race and it being not as bad as it was,
right?
I always disagree, and the reason the relevancy of the NAACP and any organization that's talking about the civil rights and equality for others is that every time I hear that, it just reaffirms that we haven't come nowhere near as far as we need to. We're 150 plus years past the end of slavery, and we're just now talking about breaking the color barrier for the Supreme Court for a woman, the CEO companies and stuff like that. Those types of things have been fought for, and they continue to be fought for. And so when you talk about the relevance of the NAACP or Black Lives Matter or the ACLU or the Anti-Defamation League or any other organization that's fighting for someone's equality, until we able to not discuss race and eliminate that, then those types of organizations are going to always be relevant. Now, the method by which they get there may be different, but
you got to understand, Marcus, you know, that conversation again, look at this. The black lady, we don't know any other terms. So to get to that point, you got to get people on a large scale to understand what that's about. And yes, El Patah, been saying the same thing for years, but I was labeled a rebel. You know, we were just talking about that yesterday or the other day or whatever, about when Misho and posting our group saying you know, about the what was that the birth certificates of American citizens are actually traded on the stock market. It is used as a form of commodity. You know, we are commodities. They use it to get the more births, the more money they can get from central banks and stuff like that, right? So, you know, that was proven with the information that we were looking at just the other day. But again, years before, you know, if it was said, then you were labeled a conspiracy theorist and a rebel and stuff like that. But that's how it goes. As he says, we do know the terms. But here, real quick, before we go too far, let me just play this real quick.
She had the 3-strike rule in effect, if I ain't mistaken.
Oh yeah, she's got a reputation in San Francisco.
Okay.
Dope is legal in San Francisco, marijuana, and she had the dubious distinction of getting the stiffest sentences in America for simple possession of marijuana, and it was noted at the time that 95% of them were black, when black folk are not even a very high percentage of the Bay Area population. And frankly, in my 50 years of doing what I'm doing, categorically, some of the most corrupt people in the United States of America are career prosecutors. Not all of them, but many, many of them. They've been exercising too much power for too long with no accountability, and power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and they are a primary example. They go after people they know are innocent, but they want to make a point, or they want to use them as political bait or scapegoat, so they prosecute the innocent. She has a thing where it really got stinky, where she had evidence showing that somebody on death row was pristinely innocent. She refused to release the information until the Supreme Court of the state ordered her to release any such information in her possession. That kind of person. And now she's supposed to be our friend, and then a creepy laugh. And it's Mrs. Imhoff, by the way. Now, nothing wrong with Jewish people, but she's married to Hollywood, well-to-do Hollywood Jewish lawyer.
But Judge, you said she's not
She's
black.
got 2 Jewish children she adopted.
She's not black, right?
She's a Hindu Brahmin. She's a Hindu Tamil caste Brahmin, which, according to anthropologists, is what's known as an Indo-Aryan. Now, we've all heard of the Aryan Superman, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, that founded Germany. Well, Aryans did found Germany, but they weren't blonde-haired, blue-eyed. That came later. They were dark to swarthy, the paper bag brown with coarse black hair and dark eyes. Those are the Aryans.
Paper bag brown, boy. Paper bag brown. That's a new term right there. I think I'm gonna adopt that one. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you know, what y'all think about that right there?
She's kind of like It's interesting. She's kind of like Elizabeth Warren. For 20 years, she allowed Harvard to say she was the first woman of color, at Harvard when,
Focus.
and
Well, I mean, when we say color, I mean, aren't we inclusive of
yeah,
brown and hey, you guys never did respond to me in the private chat, but
Oh,
you know,
I'm sorry. What?
either way, as we're moving along here, looking at talking about the NAACP, I got off for a quick second. I want to do can I do a history untold, unlearn to relearn moment real quick? 2 minutes
Yes,
and
sir.
55 seconds. Y'all mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that, and we'll
Hey, I could respond to that. It was okay. I'd respond to it in here. Yeah.
well, just I mean, you don't have to respond on air, just
No,
in the
I'm
chat.
good. Yeah, I'm
But
good.
just let me know what's what. All right, so here I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this right here. This is pretty cool. This is in reference to the text that I sent yesterday in the group chat with all the guys. But here we go.
If you just see Jackie Robinson through the lens of baseball and that's it, you're missing a whole legacy. You're missing a whole person. You're missing a huge activist. If all he ever did was play baseball, that would have been enough. He understood his role as a black man and that he had to open up other opportunities for people of color and to address issues of injustice in America and the world. I want to share with you all what's really been my life's work for the past 31 years, traveling the country, collecting primary source material of American history that has not been given equal space in textbooks nor in museum spaces. I was a middle school teacher in the Detroit Public Schools. I was using primary source material in my classroom to engage my students. And for me, it was taking this private collection I had and starting to use that in public spaces to teach people about Black history. People often ask me, what is the most interesting or most dynamic artifact that you have in the collection? And this happens to be it. This document is signed by Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier. They were a part of an organization called the African American Student Foundation in 1959. This letter documents their efforts to raise funds to bring over initially 81 students from Kenya in 1959. In subsequent years, from 60 to 63, they bring over literally hundreds of students to America to go to school. And one of the students that came to America went to school in Hawaii. He studied economics. He got married and had a baby. This student, his name was Barack Obama. And the child that he had, he named him Barack Obama Jr. These are three iconic individuals. As men, they understood that it was their responsibility to open up opportunities for other people who did not have the same privilege as they had. So when they decided to help African students come to America during that time, they made an investment that was incredible, and it really changed the course of American history.
Hey, I read that, man, and I have a mix about that. Okay, I really do. You know, Sidney Poitier is not authentically a descendant of American slaves. Okay, they could have made an investment in our culture of people, our men specifically. Because,
well, neither is Peter.
No.
Yeah, he's from England.
Right?
Yeah.
So my point is that they took that investment and reached out, okay, to demographics of people who's not descendants of American slaves and infiltrated them in and not in making that investment into our men that was struggling here trying to take care of their family. That's my I like the story. It sounds good, but immediately I just took offense to it a little bit as a descendant of American slave because, brother, the first president in my life that should have been from president of the United States should have been someone who was just truly authentic descendants of American slave, not someone that was imported from somewhere else. And that's just me, Sean, saying what I'm saying.
You know what's interesting? Another angle on that is they obviously were proud of America to spend all that effort and capital to bring people here. And one thing note about Dr. King and the great civil rights leader of the past, they really admire the American system. These were smart people.
Yeah.
They studied the Constitution. These were educated so what they wanted is to have equal access to the great system. I think that contrast now where so many of these younger activists, trying to tout America as the most evil country in the world. And, that was not the view of historical civil rights leadership. They obviously, if they thought America was 100% evil, they wouldn't spend all that money and effort to bring people, Africans here to learn and be educated. So I think that was interesting as well. The difference between, and that would be an interesting conversation, a history of the civil rights leadership of the past versus the attitude now of some of the new generation of activists.
I think into the color construct and what they were thinking. I think Marcus, when he talks about the relevant NAACP, talks about the fact that we still got it. Back then, those guys was operating in a different space than our brothers. I'm a bottom up, bro. I'm always thinking about us as the bottom up, bro. Those brothers is operating in a different space, okay, than the authentic, the authentic, genuine brothers up from the hood trying to navigate in American color construct, and that's why I have an issue with it.
Well, and I think too, excuse me, to clarify the thing about Vice President Harris, and what Judge Joe Brown had to say. What he didn't go on and say is that while she's all of those other things in this country, she's considered black, she's considered colored, and all those other things. And so, therefore, regardless of what her other beginnings were, as he was trying to point out that she wasn't this or she wasn't that, this country didn't see it that way because there's no distinction in that. Whether you high yellow or coal black, you get lumped into that category.
Yeah, but
and
this country let R. Kelly keep raping young girls and create a harem, and now he's in jail for 30 plus years.
If he survives that long,
and still is sentenced to sex therapy when he gets out. So he still got time after he gets out. So I mean, that's what this country accepted and did because they were getting something in return, which was good music. So I mean, can we really look at what this country does in voting for things and stuff like that as anything of that makes any sense?
Yeah, with Harris, and when I watched a couple of those Joe Brown videos, Marcus, she ran as the first Indian as senator, and she won. And what his point is, she's touting herself as African American, and she has no African connection at all. He even goes back to her family in Jamaica. They're Brahmin Indians, and so she's just flat out lying. And just like Elizabeth Warren was lying that she was Native American, and so I mean that's pretty. Identity theft is a big deal, and she's
not done anything that this country hasn't. Which I think the point is that this country lumped her into that category. Now you're saying they shouldn't.
No, she portrayed her in order for political.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with what Marcus is saying because think about it. I mean, if we go back to whites only and blacks only, guess what? She ain't gonna be able to stand in the whites only line. I mean, it's gonna be some some European Cubans with black hair and
is
black eyes that are going to be
2020.
unable to stand in that whites only.
Yeah, but this was 2020. It's not whites only. You guys are.
I'm just saying, if you break it down to that, can she stand in the whites only? No, she can't. So she's a colored person.
She's not white.
And
she's
considered.
Indian. She's Indian from India.
But she carries hot sauce in her bag.
Well, let me answer this, Peter. On the government form, it says other. It doesn't. It has all those other things that you said she is. There's not a place on the government form for that, right? It's this, that, or other.
Well, she
should check the other block, even though we as a country say if you're not this, you're one of these.
Well, Indians are considered Asians, so. But I mean, anyway, you need to go see the Judge Joe Brown videos.
And I'm actually in agreement with both Marcus and Peter. Marcus, you make a very, very good point. The fact of the matter, and I don't like her at all because I don't like her for the same reason I didn't like Obama. I believe he played the color construct of America for their own benefit. Okay, and we the people bought into the okie doke. Goes back to what you started.
Yeah, that's
and we got nothing for it. A lot of people gonna say we didn't get a damn thing from Obama. A lot of people disagree with that, but I think that he played the okie doke, okay? And he actually said when he was in front of an all European, I'm not your native. I'm not the native Native American or Native brothers or whatever he said, something like that. He was playing to the fact, letting them know, look at here. You ain't got no issue with me, okay? Because, see, I'm not one of the native brothers. So I ain't one of the native blacks and everything. So he played, man, and she did the same damn thing, okay? And that's the started with.
But let's just look. Okay, in a court of law right now, Dave, somebody would stand up and say, "Object, relevance, Your Honor, relevance." So is that relevant or not? Like, does it matter? Because honestly, as I'm going through these Joe Brown videos, I'm over here looking at the same time that we're talking, and all he's talking about is how she ain't black, she's a hoe, she effed her way to the top, and this, that, and the other. That's all he's really talking about. He doesn't have much of anything else to say other than that. And I mean, that's just character, assassination. It doesn't have any relevance to her ability to do anything. I mean, Joe Biden was in office for 40 plus years, and he ain't done nothing, except for help incarcerate a massive amount of brothers, and then become president, voted in the majority by the brothers' wives who are in jail. So, with that being said, then you know what I mean? I mean, it's just kind of crazy. But real quick, we're going to go to commercial, folks. It is a Truth Be Told show. And when we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And we're going to have a bit of a conversation about the food shortage in the U.S. I don't know if y'all noticed this. I do. I pay very close attention. I'm a very observant individual. And when I go to the grocery store, what I'm noticing is how they put multiples, like in the produce section, multiples of the same thing in different places and all that stuff. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back, folks. Again, it is the Truth Be Told show.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable products, as the purple t-shirt is bearing witness. Every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap sticks and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told Show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told Show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Mishorn.
All right. You know, it's funny because that water trickling sound, I muted Uncle Mishorn earlier because I thought it was and he didn't accidentally hit the wrong button, I think. But I thought he was taking a leak. And so that's why I muted it earlier. And then I remembered that he said in the beginning of the show, he said, "Hey, I'm outside in the garage. I got the door open, looking at the rain." So it's all good. You didn't have to jump off when you heard that, Uncle Me. I'm just being honest. That's what I'm doing. I'm just being transparent. We thought you were taking a leak, but I realized it was the rain. It's all good. But with that being said, welcome to the show. We got Martin Smith, CEO of United Global Co-op. The man grows a lot of things, and he's in tune with new laws as they change. I'd like to pay a visit to one of his farms and be a tester at some point, if he'll allow me to. But nonetheless, welcome to the show. How you doing there, Brother Martin Smith?
I'm doing great. I'll tell you what, I appreciate you guys and your dialogue. Marcus is, man, he's just really standing up in there, and you guys are just laying it down for, you've done your your due diligence, and the conversation flows like, gentlemen ought to talk amongst one another, and I really appreciate that and the dialogue ahead. But you said you thought if we had freedom from political tyranny, that we would find ourselves potentially in a chaotic situation, something of that nature, because I think the government ought to be so little because we do so much for one another. And it's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And
absolutely. And that's in tune with what Ali Mujab says here. He says the problem is not the president, it is the party. So it's like you said about what we can do for our country. And I think a lot of us need to understand that these people are supposed to be working for us. Yes. And we need to get back into holding people accountable. It really is the case. We have to understand our power as the people. As the roles have been reversed simply because they have dumbed us down in thinking that, we don't have power. I mean, I was on the phone for a couple hours yesterday with the IRS, and I'm asking the lady, listen, show me the law that says that I have to pay taxes. And nobody can do it. To this day, me and John Yah have been asking people for months, and no one has been able to pull that law. We've asked accountants, we've asked CPAs. No one can pull that law because the Constitution says it's voluntary. But I digress.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I would like to say that doesn't go deep enough. That doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. We need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to look at our community first, inside our families, and see what those gifts God's given each one of us to work together as a family. And then we need to look into our community. And really, if it doesn't exist out there, it's because, this is a spiritual thing. You've got to have seed, right, in order to grow fruit. And if there's not much good spiritual seed out there. Now, we all look at the ground it falls on, but what about the seed we're sowing, and we need to find those who are sowing good seed in our communities and get along with them and start cultivating, our responsibility. That's how, your approach is absolutely a point of view, but there's an alternative point of view, and that is holding ourselves accountable.
But how can we? Go ahead, Uncle Michon. Because my question is, how can we do that? When we don't understand. We're a fad-driven country. Let's just be honest. We're a very fad-driven country, and with that in mind, we do not. One thing is big today. Tomorrow, the next thing is big. We're a big fad-driven country. We don't really focus on.
Can I jump in there? I think your listeners understand all of that. I really do. I just don't think that had a chance to really think about it collectively, just like this show has you guys have the ability to talk amongst yourself. Let me give you another point of view so that it's it helps the point of view. Let me say this real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Martin. Let me add this first, because then you can add, because you're going to
go ahead, Michon.
Let me add. The fact of the matter is that gentleman, when I saw engaging the white dudes, and he came out and said that all of us have privileges. So you are on point when you talk about individual. We all have individual privileges to do what we need to do. The problem is that this country has not allowed our demographics men or this country to be part of.
You're real choppy, Michon. I don't know what's going on, but
that's okay.
If you have your Wi-Fi on, and you don't have Wi-Fi out in the garage, then cut your Wi-Fi off on your phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I just want to say that, Mark, then you can jump on it. We're just now 150 years out. Our demographics of men are just now learning how to be outspoken, speak with a sense of confidence about who we are as an Americans. So until we can have this conversation that the dominant European demographics of people will be respectful to hearing the other demographics of men who just now learning how to participate in this American dream, that's when we can have a better Make America Greater than it's ever been. And Martin, that's why I wanted to add that in there before, because it's important. Our demographics of men are just now growing up, maturing, to knowing how it is to being a damn American. Did I make sense?
You got to take that into account. Absolutely. Martin, what you got to say?
I get that. And I guarantee you, every listener on here could have quoted that word for word, having heard you say that, as your mission. And the question, though, was asked is, what can we do about it? And let me say this. George Washington warned us about electing politicians over citizens.
And political parties,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you following me?
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hold
on, let's play some 4D chess real quick. All right. Every listener out here knows what you're going to say next, Michon. Guarantee it. But they didn't hear. They need to hear what I'm
saying. That's just because he's posted it and texted about.
But I promise you, where's the chat room at? Please, chat room, give me some backup. Promise you. Promise you. Okay, let's go to 4D chess. Let's move on.
Martin is right. George Washington pleaded with America: do not create political parties, because he said, and looking around the world, the first thing they do is they start selling their votes for money.
Right.
And he was absolutely right. And we decided, nope, we're not going to listen to that sound advice. And we created political parties. Now we have two major ones. We have multiple, and that's what they do. They sell their votes for money. It's that simple. They're political proxies.
I personally think that most politicians go in there with the idea of doing the right thing. But think about it. It's a culture and a society that has a particular energy. So once they get in there, then that energy comes on them. And then little by little, they say, you know what? Okay, I'll do a little negative over here in order to get this positive over here done. And then little by little, they get chopped at and get broken down, and they become what they end up being, which is just a politician rather than someone who's there working for the people. And I wholeheartedly believe that you'd have to blow up the whole government and start over in order to make it right. There's no other way. Same way you got to blow up the earth and start over to make it right.
If we blew up the government, where would you go? Where would everybody go that's coming here from their fouled up stuff? It ain't we got to blow up our government. We got to, like I just told you, we got to quit electing politicians. We got to start electing citizens.
But Martin, there's a whole culture. You say that like you have the ability to control the minds of people.
No, I don't. I don't
we
have
have
it.
to create a spray, and then put it in a plane, and then have the planes fly over Earth and leave some chemtrails of that spray that helps to change people's minds. Oh, hold on. You know what? They already do that. My fault.
Let me just say, okay, we can go there. Okay, I'd like to go back to 4D chess. All right, let's talk about this. Sri Lanka, you know anything about it? What's going on in Sri Lanka right now?
Hold on, let me Google.
Oh, yeah, look at there. They just overthrew their government because of hunger. Today we're talking about hunger, right?
Yeah.
Go look and see what they did in Sri Lanka. Peacefully. Took over their government, threw their president out. They did burn down his house. They did, but they're hungry. And they ain't got no gas, and they don't have no money. And this inflation for them isn't, when the dollar, they're trading their dollars for us. They can't get anything and they can't make anything. They made bad policy decisions. That president, the reason why they run him out is because he took away all of their ability to fertilize their food with chemical fertilizers that they're used to and made them go to manure and green stuff. And that caused the starvation happening in their right now. Collapse their government. Their people
you know the difference, Martin, right? The difference.
There ain't no difference. They're human beings who are hungry.
No. Different. Exactly. The difference is that their backs were pushed up against the wall. And here in America, we are some comfortable, laid back, lazy MF. Talk about it. Tell us about the food shortage that's going on. Because
let me tell you.
It's a global debt crisis. They're restricting fuel imports. When you look at it, then yes, their backs were pushed up against the wall to create the people actually going out there and making something happen. And you're right. I think it's coming here too if people don't stop playing. But let's talk about it.
Coming here. It's here with one of us are starving around the world. Let me tell you something. We're all going to be starving around the world. The same decisions making. Diesel fuel right now for a farmer. Profit's gone in his crop. Chemical fertilizer for a farmer. Same thing happened in Sri Lanka. Now you got one growing season. You understand? You following me? You got one growing season to feed all of us. Sri Lanka right now, they took out their fertilizer. Now American have the fertilizer cost from last year was $186 a ton. Now it's over $900 a ton. You think crops are getting now? Listen here, diesel fuel, right? We was down to $2 and something. Now we're up to $7 and $8 and $9 in diesel fuel.
Diesel
farm
fuel is for the
come on, let me get you something. Let me get you something that you didn't know.
Tell us what diesel fuel is for.
We're here. We're here. Let me tell you something. We're here. We've created in this country, we feed the world. Russia goes into war. the fourth largest producer of grain to all of the hungriest nations. 400 million of them are now not getting that grain. If they do get it, it's going to be under high cost, because can you imagine what an insurance policy is in the middle of a war, pulling out grain out of a country as somebody's delivery? You know what that's going to do? That's going to pass on to them. And not only that, then all of a sudden, the country's going to want to pay more for it because they got more than this other country. Now we start hoarding it. Now we start moving it because, oh no, now this country don't have any and it's my country. So now I'm going to start hoarding. Then all of a sudden, now you have export hoarding. Now we have 23 countries right now that will not export food to anybody else because they are already in it right now. You don't think we ain't in it? Let me tell you something. We're sitting right. We can talk all about Kamala Harris. We can talk all about whatever. But when it comes down to what Sri Lanka, Ghana, I mean, I can go on and on. Afghanistan, on and on and on. Countries all over the world right now are not sitting here talking about Kamala Harris. 4D chess.
No. Well, I mean, but see, you got to remember, America is great at being the greatest illusionist ever. So they know how to do stuff over here, have you looking over here while they're doing stuff behind closed doors over here. The greatest illusionist ever.
No, we're on TikTok. We're on TikTok. And
that's a good one. You should do the farmer's TikTok dance. That would be dope.
This is a farmer hoeing. This is what my daddy told me. This is what my daddy.
That's the Kamala Harris dance.
Let me just say something. My daddy told me when I was in 11th grade, and I was the military was seeking me to go do something in the world, and I asked my daddy. I said, Dad, what should I do? And he said, son, let me tell you something. You ever heard the term? I'm from the mountains of the Ozarks. He said, son, you ever heard the term run for the hills? I said, yes, sir. He said, there's going to come a time when them people in them cities are going to come running to the hills. And they better not run to ours. And you better go figure out a way to stop it. They're going to come out of those cities with one or two things: a hoe in their hand or a hoe in their head. Because property rights and everything, when you start talking about what's going on in Sri Lanka, when you start talking about what's going on in Pakistan, when you start talking about what's going on in Ukraine, when you start talking about what's going on in the world, we better get to realizing we are the world and not start just thinking about, what is happening in our face because we're on this TV all the time, because we're, instead of backing our families going, you know what, we better start preserving ourselves because there's some stuff coming to our families that we ain't ready for and our communities ain't ready for.
So back to, hey, Martin, thank you for coming on and having that conversation. I want to make sure we close out here before the NAACP because we got Martin closing out. We're going to have
you just went back to cutting out, Michon.
Tie in what Martin just said with the meeting with the NAACP. Did y'all have any of that conversation? And that
food security,
security, economics, and everything. I would just want to tie that in as we get about 15 minutes. We got left here.
Well, some of that was, but we're talking about food deserts and stuff like that in communities, which is a completely different topic than what Martin is talking about. And I think we've probably done a disjustice on this particular topic because it has a wide range of implications globally. And Martin just briefly touched on it. And so I think to better that, we probably ought to give some time to that when he can really go into that conversation, because I think it's really relevant.
We still got time, y'all can go into it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that
NAACP
it's more than,
and then we'll go back to that.
Well, I'm getting ready to, but I'm saying I think that deserves a probably a 90-minute conversation versus
we can do a whole show on
conversation. So what the NAACP has said is that coming out of this last conference is that we're talking about economic stability and closing the wealth gap. And one of those things about closing the wealth gap is getting into a position for home ownership. As we know, most people's wealth is passed on through their homes. That was one of the major topics of this last convention, as well as how we get there, meaning the elimination of student debt. And what they're talking about there is that the cost of education went up 10-fold, 20-fold, but the Pell Grants and all those things that help pay for the education, those limits remain the same. And so what you did is you have this coming out of college, you have a much larger debt that it took me 15 years to pay off my student loan. So I'm not so much in favor of getting rid of them because I had to pay mine off. But they're saying that stops you from being able to get into home ownership because it's a
selfish
super
way
debt.
to look at it.
Well, yeah, it's a selfish way to look at it, but I struggled and paid mine off. And I'm not saying that, and I still own a home and I've still done all those things that
So you paved the way for the
keeps it from
ability
happening.
for other people to not have to pay theirs off. You look at it that way.
Well, I can look at it that way. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying it kind of rubs me raw that
It rubbed.
Well, but that's part of the where the organization's at. So I'm there right now. We also talked about the rights of women's rights and LGBTQ rights and stuff like that. And sometimes we diverge on where we see things. That's the organization's position. So that's my position officially. Personally, I think we've given that too much play, and they've been allowed to co-opt our movement for their movement, and we've moved to the back burner, and we continue to put ourselves on the back burner for other people's causes. And so that's a Marcus Ray personal thing there. And we've also talked about where we go from here in relation to the power. And I've mentioned it before when I said that the African-American, the Central American slaves community, every single time that we have impacted a national election, this country's responded in the same way, right? And so we stand in the breach for voting rights and stuff like that. And I think that what we do is we ensure everybody that's legally has access to vote is able to vote without a bunch of problems. Those are the main things that come out of the conference. The one thing that they did talk about was this being the power that we have as an organization and as a community, is that when we engage in a fight, that we bring power with us for that, meaning that when we turned out for elections, certain things happen, and then when we don't turn out for elections, you have to also go with those things that happen when you don't turn out. And so this is really about the power that we possess when we show up to the polls, and then holding them accountable for the things that they said they would do when we voted for them, regardless of what party that might be. You often hear that the organization is nonpartisan, which is true, but I think we get politically involved sometimes, and we don't get anything out of being politically involved, which was to my statement earlier about the okie doke. We got politically involved, and then we got nothing out of it but a holiday. And so I digress on that. But that's where the NAACP is right now.
And now I understand why you wanted to start out with the okie doke, okay? Because basically, we have a whole lot of stuff culturally that we're fed. We get emotionally tied into it, but at the end of the day, we just got fed an okie doke.
You hit the nail on the head, my friend. And listen, I'm reminded of something that W. Du Bois said when a young guy wrote to him about why do we use the word Negro. And he said, names are only conventional signs for identifying things. If a thing is despised, either because of its ignorance or because it is despicable, you would not alter matters by changing its name. Du Bois goes on to say, and I agree, as long as the majority of men mean black and brown folks when they say Negro, so long will Negro be the name of folks black and brown. And neither anger, nor wailing, nor tears can or will change the name until the name habit changes. And so I say all that to say this: when we talk about becoming the descendant of American slaves versus Negro and black and everything else, this thing comes to my mind as we move forward and how we proceed. And so I just leave y'all with that part as we talk about why, or when Joe mentioned earlier that black is the term, or that African American is the term. And until we as a group decide it's going to be something different, then no matter how much we go on about it, it's going to stay the same until we decide it's going to be different. So we've got to work ahead of us.
It's also tied into our social emotional learning, okay, and our behavior. What you just said, if we don't change that, Martin, Peter, if we don't have the dominant European culture get out of the way and see our contribution to this country and allow us to share what we believe that we have contributed to this country, not being black, but based on being a humanity to this country as descendants of American slaves. But we got to change our social emotional attachment to color. And that color got to come from the dominant European culture, got to help us pass legislation to take it off the table. So it's a combination of both. Mark, that goes back to what you're saying. We got to learn how to work together to accomplish that, okay? But we got to be willing to listen to one another to get that thing done.
Absolutely. When you're hungry, you get motivated. And I'm telling you right now, if I could tell you what's on the horizon, you better be sitting here talking about like what I'm about to do today. I'm going to go to the West End. I'm going to go into the pavilion there at Shawnee Park, work with some young men that I'm hoping to help them learn how to butcher a hog and how to clean a chicken and how to can and preserve and blanch.
Hold on. You're teaching that? Like, is it like you're going to have a real hog?
Yeah, we do. We got two waiting for the fall, the weather to change, to cool off a little bit to butcher, but we're going to butcher them and they'll get to learn how to do food safety.
So Martin Smith is going into the West End to teach black folks how to have more high blood pressure. I'm just messing with you, Martin. You know, that pig ain't good for nobody. You know, he Old Testament, New Testament. You know.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to be looking for one of these young men.
Hey, don't worry. I'm with it. You know, I mean, I think because the animals. Listen, if it came to that, then the animals gonna all get ate up. Hey, listen, I believe that every futuristic movie that we have been watching, somebody somewhere this is what I believe. They are trying to get us used to certain things. I mean, think about it. Shanae on Martin, and now they got us used to men wearing dresses, right? You know, we was laughing at that long ago, but we don't realize the subconscious side of that about how we were used to it. Well, think about it. There are things coming to fruition right now with people downloading, people in a waiting list to download their subconscious into the metaverse, right? So there's companies out there right now that are doing that, and they are cryogenics, holding people, freezing people's bodies. There's companies that do that. So guess what? Everything we've been watching, all right, and the idea, you got to think, the idea came from somewhere. It came from even the idea of something in these futuristic movies came from the idea of a possibility of an idea, right? So it is and will potentially happen simply because we are going down that same route, and all these movies have been doing is getting people used to it, so that when it comes, you're not going to be in too much of an uproar. Yeah, they're going to have some people going off, but you're not going to be in too much of an uproar. So I agree with Martin. When it happens, my biggest thing is plants. Because when if you believe in Adam and Eve, then God put them in a garden, and that is the fuel that makes this Lamborghini run to optimum performance. So after the animals are gone, you're gonna have to eat some trees.
All that's true if you're still here.
There you go. Absolutely. And I said long ago that I believe for some reason that I will still be here. I'm too much of a MacGyver. But either way.
So before we sign off, Joe, today, I'd like to ask Martin if he could come back on August the 2nd to talk about the food. And if he's got time, we want to. So
this subject, I got time. I mean, like I was telling you, my day to day, I'm going to go see J.W. Stokes. We're working on a big project, intercity project, to help, build out some things. So I'd like to come back and tell you about what we're doing and hopefully make some folks aware of the opportunities we have. When we say you want to change things, look at Sri Lanka. They changed things peacefully, although it looked like, anybody could have described it as chaos or violence, but they got their objective done, and hopefully they'll get their country back, and the decision making will come back to the citizens, and these policies won't wreck their lives.
Hey, Martin, what you want to title August the 2nd? It's from your point of view.
next
Hey,
Tuesday.
we can talk about that part off air.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
At this
And
point,
that's next Tuesday for everyone. Yeah.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Perfect.
so that'll work. So again, folks, it is the Truth Be Told show. I'm gonna sign us out with a little bit of Dave Chappelle man-to-man conversation with Will Smith over the Chris Rock slap, and we'll that's it's a little
Sign
bit
us out
long,
with a
but
Sri Lanka video.
you want to go out with a Sri Lanka video? Sure,
Yeah.
we can do that. We'll
That
look at
ties into
what's
next
going
week.
on in Sri Lanka.
Hey, fellas, thank you all for putting up with the Uncle Me showing and everything, man. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to see my grandmother. She passed away last Friday, man. And I just want to let y'all know, man, that meeting my grandmother was a blessing. Okay. And it has really helped me realize the descendants of American slave conversation. She was born in 1919, and it really has made a change in my life. So I do believe family matters. And I'm going to see a part of my family that have never seen me in 55 years. So it's going to be an experience for me. So I won't be here the second. I'm leaving the third. I'm going to be preparing. I'm going to let y'all do that show without me. I just got to go and prepare. I wanted to just let y'all know that, bro.
Okay.
Hey, new T-shirt alert. # Families Lives Matter. Hey, folks, it has been a good one here at the Truth Be Told show. We appreciate everybody who jumped in and joined us today. Do want to make sure that I put this comment out there. The NAACP issues reminds me of Palestinian political organization. The Palestinians have a political party, but continue to be crushed by the Israeli government. So, nice little comparison there. Folks, until next week, same place, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Truth Be Told show. And we'll talk to you guys soon. But you guys, if you want to hang out and watch this video, it's about 3 minutes as we go out. Hey, see you, brothers.
Take care.
All right.
Absolutely.
As the economic meltdown continues to batter Sri Lanka, the South Asian nation is now seeking help from one of its close allies, China, to help boost its trade, investment, and tourism sector. Now, Colombo's envoy to Beijing said on Monday that the country is now seeking help from China to revive these sectors amid the financial crisis. The development comes as the country negotiates for an emergency $4 billion package to help it emerge from the ongoing economic mess. In a latest interview on the financial crisis, Lankan envoy said that Colombo wants China to buy more Sri Lankan tea, sapphire, and spices to help boost its trade. Now, he also said that Beijing could help in bringing further investment in China-backed port projects in the country.
We would also like to see more Chinese investments coming to Sri Lanka. We have two large areas developed by Chinese companies, the Colombo Port City and the Hambantota Harbour and its associated industrial zone. We would like to see many more Chinese companies coming to occupy these spaces.
In addition to Chinese investment on port projects, Sri Lanka is also eyeing to draw more Chinese tourists in the country. The numbers fell drastically following the post-pandemic shutdown. For several months, Sri Lanka had been in talks with China for a $4 billion aid package. It is also asking for a $1.5 billion credit line to pay for Chinese imports that can help the country's lucrative garment industry. Sri Lanka is currently battling its worst financial meltdown since its independence, with months of frequent power blackouts and acute shortage of food and fuel supplies. The crisis has hit majority of the households. Foreign exchange reserves have also dropped exponentially, and practically with no money, the government has to seek help from its allies and the IMF to keep the country afloat. And for more on this, our correspondent Dasuni Athoda has sent us this report from Colombo. Let's listen in.
The talks of a possible $4 billion aid package with China comes at an interesting time, particularly where over the past few months, China appeared to be quite tight-lipped in their measures of assistance towards Sri Lanka in the thick of a crisis when spearheaded by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, it appears that discussions are now underway under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is attempting to pull Sri Lanka of a worsening economic crisis that has now developed into a political crisis as well. Stay with WION as we track the very latest from here in Colombo. Reporting for WION World is One, I'm Dasuni Atauda.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.
If you're a Kentucky homeowner, 2022 is your last chance to...
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told Show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told Show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Nishorn.